Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday community call with the Visionary Leaders. My name is Erin Fugate, and I'm one of the founding members of the Visionary Leaders community. We gather every Wednesday, and for about 30 minutes from 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, we talk about essential oils and the wonderful nutritional products from doTERRA. Then we switch gears, and around 10:30, we talk about sharing essential oils and making an income through the doTERRA business. So we're happy that you're here. This call happens every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and you're all invited to come back. Today, we're talking with Ariana Harley and Jenny Trufenken about long haulers. Next week, we'll be talking about mental and emotional health, specifically going deeper into the adaptive capsules and the adaptive system. Next slide, please. We have great events that we want to make sure you know about. You can find out all the information on hellovisionary.life/event, events with an S. We have Saturday morning continuing education. We have a work party directly after this call at 11:15 a.m. on Wednesdays. We have a doTERRA intro class on Tuesdays at 5:30 Pacific time. And we hope that you attend all of our events. Next slide, please. So we just did an incredible 2-hour webinar about essential oil science and our modern times. It was a huge success. We had 3,000 people register, 500 people live, and we have 500 people and growing in a Facebook group specific to this content. If you'd like to watch the recording, it is available until October 25th, and then the recording will not be available anymore. If you would like to join the Facebook group, you can just search EO Science on Facebook and the group will come up. And if anybody has the Vimeo link, you could drop it in the chat. If not, I'll get it later. This is just if you want to grab a screenshot for our business opportunity webinars, that helps you invite your friends. Next slide. And our 100 Families program is still going and you can still join us. I am spending the rest of 2021 mentoring you to your Power of 3 bonus. And today we'll be hearing from one of the members of this group who achieved her $50 bonus just last week. So come join us if you are not in there already. You just sign up at bit.ly/mentor with Erin. And my name is with an A. If you would like to have text alerts and be reminded of all our webinars and calls and classes, please sign up for that by texting Hello Visionary, all one word, to 833-359-0069. And please make sure all your customers and business partners are signed up for text alerts. We also have a monthly blog newsletter that comes out around the 10th, and you can find the old issues up at hellovisionary.life/monthly-news. This is also where you can register to receive the blog in your email. Next slide. So we are talking about staying safe during these trying times, and today's presentation is going to be incredible. I'm going to turn it over to Aisha Harley to introduce our speakers.
Thank you so much, Erin. Welcome, everybody. It's so wonderful to be here with you. I am really excited about today's call. We have two incredible speakers. First off, we have Ariana Harley, who is a mother, an artist, an urban medicine woman. She is a doTERRA Diamond. She is also the founder and the creator of our Oils A to Z call that she hosts monthly with doctors Mika Carew, Will Wan, and Louise Rose. So please join us for those. And she's going to be sharing some of her personal testimony with COVID and her long hauling symptoms. And then she will be joined, oops, I don't know what happened to that slide. Sorry about that, by our brilliant Dr. Jenny Trufenken, who is also here in Portland, Oregon. She is a licensed naturopathic physician, functional medicine educator, an entrepreneur, and a mom. And she specializes in empowering people to rediscover their core vitality. She has been in practice for over 20 years, both practicing and teaching functional medicine. And she has a specific focus on working with people with chronic disease. So we could not be in any better of hand than with Dr. Jenny. So I'm going to just pass the floor on over to you.
All right, let's get started. So Dr. Jenny and I are just going to have a conversation and just open up the door to long COVID. We won't have enough time to dive into all that we want to say, but hopefully this will be a beginning of a conversation. And so I got COVID in February of 2020, I believe. There was no tests available. It was actually prior to even the lockdown, and the symptoms that I had at the time, I wrote off as the flu because diarrhea and vomiting were not listed as COVID symptoms. They since have changed. We have learned so much since 2020 in that time. And I also want to just speak to the humility of what it is to be a human when we are faced with something that could kill us, that's scary, and we don't know, and we're learning, right? We've had a lot of polarity because of that, a lot of jumping into the fear brain. I definitely have done that. I'm sure everyone can relate. And so I got sick. My partner, Nick, got sick. My daughter that I know of did not get sick. It passed. And then in March, the end of March of 2020, I started getting really sick. And for 6 months, I was bedridden on and off for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, to the point where I didn't have enough energy to get up to get a glass of water. There were times I would stand up and collapse on the ground, and it was terrifying. And I just want to say thank you to the naturopathic doctors, to our community, and to traditional Chinese medicine doctors, because I really feel that my knowledge saved my life and my doctor saved my life. And I was believed during this time. I had friends in my community who dropped herbs off on my porch, who helped me navigate this, and also helped tell me, like, hey, I think you have what we called at the time long haulers COVID. So I don't want to talk too much because Jenny is just, you're such a wealth of information. And I want to also say, that Jenny, I asked her to join us in this call because I have been watching her posts on social media of her with her desk and her books and deep diving into long COVID. And when I've seen that, I'm just like, thank you. Because for any of us experiencing this, wow, please, doctors, help, right? It's a big deal. So I'm going to just briefly I spoke to some of my symptoms, and I wrote a few down because I don't want to remember or forget anything. I just want to say long COVID does look different for different people, different body types, and different health profiles, but there are some common symptoms. So I still have a dry, unresolved cough that I've had for quite a long time. As I mentioned, I would get up and collapse. Extreme fatigue does not even begin to explain what I experienced. I suffer from anxiety, but the anxiety attacks that I experienced with long COVID, I really don't have actual words for. They were horrendous. And I really believe it was attributed to the virus and the inflammation in my brain. And I also experienced my feet turning purple. It wasn't COVID toes, it was just a lack of circulation. So there were some really clear symptoms that were unlike other symptoms I had. I did have fatigue before. I did have a lot of inflammation and pain in my body. So I just want to say, if anyone has long COVID, it can be really confusing of what was here before, what is what. And with the allopathic doctors, my doctor, I'll have to give him credit, at Providence has been open, but because of my tests, I don't have any evidence in any antibody tests or COVID tests that I had COVID from the paperwork of the tests, which can be difficult too. And so Dr. Jenny, I can also talk about my protocol, but I just want to pass the mic to you and talk, I shared some of my symptoms. What are you learning about long COVID?
Well, thank you for having me on here. I'm just honored to be here. It's lovely to see all these beautiful faces again. It's really a pleasure. Long COVID is, it's very devastating for people who experience it. And just to give you a little bit of background, I come in with having really been focusing on chronic fatigue, myalgic encephalitis for the last couple of decades, because it's something that I myself experienced, like you, Ariana. You know, I've experienced this in my own life and was bedridden with it for a long time, and then really have struggled with it for years. And it was in my process, it became sort of my whole personal wheelhouse of real personal and professional wheelhouse to figure out what is going on with chronic fatigue, because I wasn't finding the answers anywhere, even though I had a brilliant community to tap into. I had people that had pieces, but nothing, it wasn't enough for me to get to that point of complete resolution of my symptoms to get my energy back. And so I dove into that really deeply. And when long COVID, I actually was not surprised when the pandemic first hit. I actually was like, oh no, we're going to have another epidemic of chronic fatigue from this, for two reasons. One, it's a virus, and viruses can lead to chronic fatigue symptoms. It can be one of the ways into getting chronic fatigue. And two, the stress of the pandemic, like you say. I mean, it was really tough for our human brains to deal with so much that we didn't understand. You know, there's just to not know what this virus is, the impact, how long is it going to last? You know, how do we get it? I mean, there were so many unknowns. It was very terrifying for us on many levels, which is another way that you can get into the state that we call ME, or chronic fatigue syndrome, where your body is basically just not functioning normally, and it can come out of trauma. And so we had both of those with this pandemic. So you tie those together, and to me, it's really easy to see how it cycles into this chronic fatigue kind of state of being. And I would say that with the SARS-2 COVID virus, that virus in particular, it has its own unique properties that come up from it when you're sick, when you have long COVID. Like you're saying, the vascular stuff, that's pretty unique to this particular virus. When somebody has chronic fatigue syndrome from Epstein-Barr virus or one of the other many viruses that can lead it, you don't see those kind of symptoms. But there are some commonalities. So I actually would love it, you know, with the time we have, because I know that we're just like, there's so much that we could talk about here. And I so want to dive into the meat of this with you all. But I want you to share some of the protocols that you did and what you found to work. And maybe I can shed a little bit of light as to what is happening from what I understand. Would that be helpful, or do you want me to jump in first?
That sounds perfect.
Okay, go ahead.
So I didn't write, I had wrote Jenny some of the things I did, but I just want to preface. I started really reading everything I could get my hands on in February because I was very concerned about how we were handling COVID as a community, as a large world community. And so I started doing everything that I've learned in our community to boost my immune system, and from my amazing naturopathic doctors and our community. And I just want to say I am so absolutely grateful to have this medicine on hand. It is, I want to start crying because it is so huge. And so I was doing zinc and C and D and my lifelong vitality pack and my On Guard capsules and lots of antivirals. And, you know, I said to my neighbor who's an acupuncturist when I got long COVID, I said, God, I'm so disappointed because I didn't not get it. And I was doing all the things. And now I'm really sick. And she turned to me and she said, where do you think you would be if you didn't do all of those things?
Right, right.
And I think that's really important for anyone who's lost hope or feels discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
This has been, I'll be straight up honest, this has been one of the hardest things in my life. I'm still dealing with it, but I have no way to prove this, but I think I would have ended up in the hospital. And I don't know that I'd be here. I mean, I was so sick, you know, so I do want to say, even though, yes, I got sick and I'm still dealing with it, wow, it's a huge improvement from where I could be. And then what I did with the long COVID that I've really noticed some profound differences with is, number one, our lifelong vitality pack. There was a long time I couldn't eat. I lost my appetite and I just couldn't. I was home alone a lot. I was scared to invite people over to help me because even though, you know, my acupuncturist at the time was studying and said she didn't think I was contagious, I didn't know. And I was really scared to possibly give this to anyone. And so I stopped eating, and so then I stopped taking my vitamins, and I got really depleted. And so when I have, even to this day, taken my vitamins to not, even for a few days, I see a huge difference in all of my symptoms, especially inflammation and fatigue. Mito 2 Max, I really want to give a shout out to our Mito 2 Max, the cordyceps in there, the ashwagandha, especially for fatigue. I knew that that would be helpful, but also for circulation. So I was pairing that with Deep Blue. I remember seeing Dr. Hill show a slide of Mito 2 Max taken in conjunction with anti-inflammatories and other, and it just helps them be delivered. The turmeric caps.
Can I just jump in there?
Yeah, jump in.
Mito 2 Max.
Yeah.
So this makes 100% sense to me. And this is one of the things that, let me just talk a little bit about what we know that viruses can do once they get into the body and what can trigger that kind of long COVID or chronic fatigue state. And one is the mitochondria get messed up. So people can have messed up mitochondria for multiple reasons. You can inherit a tendency towards it. Toxins get into the mitochondria and get that gummed up. So if you have a lot of heavy metals in your body, if you have lead or mercury in your body, that can decrease the functionality of your mitochondria and make it even more vulnerable to be damaged when you have something like a virus. But there's this really trippy thing that viruses do. Viruses are like parasites, and they go into the cell and they take over the cell, and they actually alter the way that a virus goes into your mitochondria and actually alters the way your mitochondria functions and shifts its metabolism and starts using up the sugar and the energy that your mitochondria is supposed to be giving to you to make you have energy so that they can continue to have their energy.
Like a zombie attack, right?
Totally, 100% a zombie attack, 100%. So that's like a two-pronged strategy, right? You need to start work on getting that viral load down, but you also need to work on supporting the mitochondria. So feeding the mitochondria with its mito food is really beneficial. And I love Mito 2 Max because it has a lot of the base nutrients that the mitochondria need, like that acetyl L-carnitine, the CoQ10. They need that food in there. And then of course the Mito 2 Max is also an adrenal support. And we know that, just being sick is stressful, but beyond that whole anxiety thing that you were feeling, the viruses get into basically all different systems in our body. And there is a vagus nerve to brain channel that we're now discovering that viruses, not only is the vagus nerve connected to the brain and all the different organs of elimination, and it picks up stress signals from your gut and takes it to your brain and tells you things are not safe, but there's actually discovering that there's almost like a speed highway where it can actually take pieces of the viron in to your brain, which I really believe is partly why long COVID has, this is my personal theory as to why long COVID just like gets that anxiety brain. Because like you said, Ariana, that anxiety, it's a different, you can be struggling with anxiety your whole life, but that COVID anxiety is like,
it hit me like a freight train. I could almost imagine with the picture, I would be sitting there watching a movie, I'd be fine. And it would be like, like if you've ever had the feeling like, oh, all of a sudden, like I'm going to throw up, like it just hits you that quick. That was how the anxiety hit.
Right. And I can tell you from somebody who had chronic fatigue for years, I had that too with my regular chronic fatigue where there was a trigger. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me, there would be a subconscious trigger that I wasn't even sure. It could have been a physiological thing that affected it, mm-hmm. but it's that limbic brain that gets triggered pre-thought. Right. And but it's scary when that happens because then did it shut down kind of your physiology that time? Did you kind of feel like
it did
heart rate shift? And yeah.
And then it's really difficult because I felt compression in my lungs, which I forgot to mention for quite a while. Right. So it was very difficult to know, is this caused by anxiety, which we can feel that with anxiety, or is this COVID? And I had a monitor, I forget what you call it, but that goes on your finger for your
pulse ox.
Pulse ox. And, at one point, just to let you know, it wasn't as low as some people's, but, I would measure it and it was 89 or 90, which I know is getting pretty low. So I was trying to kind of say, is this all in my head or, like,
right.
Because that you start tripping out too, right?
Yeah. So go ahead. So you were saying, so I just want to jump in with the Mito2max because I'm a huge fan of that, and it makes a lot of sense to me physiologically as to why that would help.
Yeah, and then the turmeric caps is
Mhm.
also something that I took
Mhm.
because I was reading so much about the inflammation and the cytokine response. Can you say that correctly?
Cytokines. Yes,
Cytokine,
right.
thank you.
And let me just say to that. So one of the things that we know happens when people get chronic viruses, and especially with the SARS-2, is that it does shift the body into a much more inflamed state. And it turns into a chronic inflammatory state, which again alters a lot of different things in your physiology. It alters how your gut functions and how your liver functions, how you process your sugars. I mean, and this becomes part of the cascade that can lead you into this chronic state of staying into this sickness state, where the immune system kind of stays in this chronic low-grade illness, and the immune system doesn't have the oomph to just kind of get rid of it, you know?
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
turmeric is great for that. I love that. The other thing about turmeric that I love, and I think is really great for anybody out there dealing with long COVID or brain fog or chronic fatigue, is it has the tumerones in it. And the tumerones are so good for building up different synapses, different neurons in the brain. It's incredible for that. It's also one that for anybody that has MS that I usually really recommend that they do use the turmeric caps and frankincense for that
Right.
reason. It's incredible.
And I have to laugh because I have still to this day very bad brain fog, and I don't even think I mentioned it. So that tricky brain
You
fog,
forgot
like,
to
is
mention
that a
your brain fog.
testimony?
Yeah. I've been there.
Yes. So yeah. So so grateful. And mentioning brain fog, I haven't gotten into my oils, but rosemary, huge ally of mine.
Yeah.
I put it on my hair, my head every day. I just smothered myself in it before this call to be able to articulate and think. I have it in my diffuser. I've used it on my lungs, on my chest, in my sauna. So rosemary is a dear friend of mine. With the supplements, the Terrazyme has been huge as well, because I've definitely been having some digestive issues. And then our adaptive caps as well. And there were times when I was needing to take 3 a day. I would take 1 in the morning, afternoon, and evening.
So let me jump in there about the digestive and the adaptive. So again, if you think about this highway between the vagus nerve with the gut and the brain going to the limbic brain and creating this stress response, we're also really seeing a very altered digestive system and increased leaky gut, which means you also have leaky brain when you're in this chronic state of inflammation. And so doing the Terrazyme is great for, supporting your digestive health. I would hope that you're doing massive probiotics can be really helpful too. They've really shown that to be helpful for people with that kind of, to really dampen down the more inflammatory part of the immune system. Have you do probiotics, and also your omega-3s would be really helpful there. And then the adaptive, I was thinking it's so great you're having the emotional health call after this one, because whether you have long COVID or not, we all need that. That adaptive is just, everything in the adaptive line is amazing for that whole limbic brain. That's why it was developed. And so you're just so lucky you had that to take that.
So lucky I had it
Time.
on hand. And to be honest, I use our products, and I've been doing it so long that I am taking the PB Assist. And we were talking about this call, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm taking so much, like I'm doing so much that we probably can't jump into everything. But yeah, I was just opening up my cabinet, and here you go, right? It's just right there. And then as far as the oils, I mentioned rosemary. The deep blue stick is new, but I am loving that for my chest and lung support.
Nice.
And I also am getting migraines constantly. So migraine relief. And then for the chest, the breathe. Any way you get it on your chest. I know some acupuncture lung points. So if you're familiar with those, I was putting it on lung 1 and lung 2. And I think it's lung 2 is really great for, I might've mixed them up, but basically they're just right here. And if you get the oils there, it's really good for grief too. So yeah, there's been tons of grief, right? Because we're going through a huge amount of loss right now and change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like there's so much that we can say, and I know we don't, and I want to make sure that people understand that this is a long process whenever you have something, a chronic illness, and that's what long COVID is. It's a chronic illness. Any kind of chronic illness, it takes time. And I always say that it took more than one thing to get you to this place. You know, some people get COVID and they don't get long COVID, and other people get COVID and they do get long COVID. Why is that? From a naturopathic perspective, we would say, well, it's because of the terrain, or there's some other underlying thing that just made your body in that moment not be able to just kick that virus out completely. And it went into a chronic low grade state where it's wreaking havoc with multiple systems in your body. And I always say that I always have so much, we have so much to hope, you know, in terms of we have so much power within us to heal and to shift that. As much as your body may feel like it's just been, you know, maligned, and, you know, you've been in a part of a train wreck and you don't know what's going on, and it's so confusing. It can be so scary when you don't have answers. I just want to say that I really believe, from my experience and from all that I know and I've done and I've lived, that there are answers out there for you. You just need to keep trying different things, and you'll begin to find what resonates with your body, like Ariana has. Like, she's put together this protocol with support that really helps her, and it begins to shift. And as you know, Ariana, it takes it's one step at a time, right? And it's a subtle shift, and then you're in a new place, and then you work on that level and you bring in some new tools, and then you get to another place and you get to another place, and it's one thing after another. And then sure enough, you look back and you're like, oh wow, I can go on hikes now, and I can hang out with my friends, and I think I'm back to my life, you know.
I can do webinars now.
I can do webinars.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, a gift in the hardness is, I really did think at times I'd lay there and think, am I gonna die? And I didn't, and I'm alive, and I'm really grateful for that. And I have so much hope, and I am feeling so much better, and I'm still a work in progress. But I agree with you, Ginny. There's, you know, and in our conversation, we were talking about, yes, we are learning about COVID, but as a naturopathic physician, you mentioned that you have, you know, 20 years of studying, like, oh, we do know how viruses affect our system, and we do have some foundational information that we can work off, which is so beautiful, because it's been what we've been teaching. You know, I mean, this is going up like a next level, but the foundation is all right within our community, which it's daily wellness, right?
100%. This community is like definitely leagues ahead of many others, you know, for that. Absolutely. Those foundations, they make such a big difference. Doing that every day just puts you in a different state. And I'm so glad, Ariana, that you're here with us and that you've been able to experience the healing that you have so far.
Yeah.
I know it can be really scary when you're sick. So
the hardest times sometimes are our greatest teachers, right? And thank you so much, Ginny, for sharing your wisdom. We are almost at time, but I wanted to ask you, you were sharing with me some of the work you're doing, and for closing, could you just share a little bit more about that, please?
Oh, sure. Yes, I'd be happy to. So two things. One, I'm putting together a program for physicians so that they can understand how to work with people who are dealing with chronic illness, like long COVID and chronic fatigue. So I'm doing that. But this next month on my list is I'm going to be, and I would love to crowdsource here, if anybody has any connections with Providence, Kaiser, OHSU, I'm going to be knocking on the doors of those that have their long COVID programs, because I feel like those long COVID programs that they have, I'm so glad they have them and they recognize them, but they fall short of a lot of things I believe that they could be doing with their patients. So I'm actually going to be working with Providence and Kaiser and seeing if they're willing to put into a different kind of protocol, the protocol that I've created in my programs to help people with chronic fatigue, so that we can see what works from what we know from treating chronic fatigue for helping people with long COVID, and also bring in other protocols to support them from the natural world, to support the issues that special issues you have with long COVID. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about doing it. It feels like the time.
It's so,
we know things in this community. It's time to share them.
I love it. It's so needed. And you shared with me that one person that was at Providence was in the long COVID program and was told, if I'm remembering correctly, just take time off work and rest till you feel better. That was the,
Yeah, bless her. Yeah, she went into the long COVID program, and she appreciated that at least she had the experience of a doctor saying, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure, we've heard that before. At least she didn't feel alone. But the treatment was, she asked, the person said, well, the doctor said, well, can you just stop working and go to bed and rest? And then the other thing is, you can work with our physical therapist and learn about pacing. And I just know there's so much more we can do, people. There's so much more we can do. So,
well, we're so blessed to
Yeah.
have you in our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
you, thank
And
you, thank you
thanks
for having
everyone for joining us too. And remember, there's just hope, and mindset is so important.
100%.
Thank you so much, Ariana and Jenny. We really appreciate your time and your wisdom. And I just want to kind of summarize some things that I heard from you all, especially for everyone listening, and some of the questions in the chat. And this is really about, we want a protocol. We want Dr. Jenny to tell me what to do. We want Ariana to tell me what to do. And in all my years with doTERRA, what I have learned is, number one, and this is why we teach this on our team, 95% of whatever is going on with anyone can be helped by getting them on the Daily Habits protocol.
100%.
So that is the protocol. And I know that there's exceptions. Of course, there's some people who can't take CRS, but let's get in that habit of all getting on the Daily Habit protocol, teaching our customers to do that. Then it's about experimentation. And that's what I'm hearing is Ariana thought, well, this is an inflammation thing. Let me take the turmeric Dumo caps. Maybe they don't work. I personally can't take those capsules. They give me hemorrhoids. So that's not something I can do, but I experimented. And then, what we're so lucky is that we have this team of naturopathic physicians who are just incredible, and most of them do remote sessions. So if you would like some help with your protocol, or you can't quite figure it out, I would make an appointment with one of them. I know that Dr. Louise Rose does them over the phone. Jenny, I'm not sure if you do them over the phone, but some of our physicians do. I think Dana Schwartz and Vivian Engelson do Chinese medicine consults over the phone. So we're here to support, but it's just a really good reminder for us to all go, that's right, Daily Habits protocol, then start experimenting. And because we all use the oils and the products anyways, it's also a bit of reflecting more than anything. And having these chats, I loved the way that you all did this. We should have more of these chats where we just go, this is what I did. Why do you think that worked? I know Dr. Josie and I have text messages like that almost every day. We're like, what do you think?
We were working it out, and then it was like, yeah, this just makes the most sense. I think we can learn so much.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay, well, thank you so much. We are going to switch gears now and move into our joy of sharing doTERRA with friends and family. I have my co-presenter, Diane Del Reyes, and we have a guest speaker today. How are you doing this morning, Diane?
I'm doing really well. I'm glad I was able to lock into this conversation, and I think it was really empowering. Thank you so much, Ariana and Jenny. I mean, I too, I love that back and forth. Like, here's what I'm doing, and Jenny's like, here's why that's important, why that works, what's happening in our body. I love that so much. So thank you. And yeah, I think it's also interesting, just and something else that came up for me. I was like, oh, this is just like business. I see. You have to have a plan. You have to okay, you're going to get here and this is working, but now it stopped working. So you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And you're going to look back and go, oh my God, I'm a presidential diamond, right? It's the same thing. How we do one thing is how we do everything. We plan for our success. We plan for our health care, and just really that awareness. So that was really cool. Thank you, guys.
That's so true. We've got the Daily Habits and the DMO pipes, and that's how we do it. So on this call, we talk about the pipes, and we are taking a month. We're almost at the end of October, where we've been diving deeply into Prepare. But Aisha, would you bring up the pipe slide real quick so we can review them? So the pipes are our income producing activities, our daily habits protocol in our doTERRA business. And it's a cycle. We just keep doing all of these in a circular motion. We prepare, that's about connecting, sampling, scheduling, launching. We've been talking about preparing this whole month. Then we move into invite. We start to invite people to classes, invite people to look at the business. Then we present. We give a presentation where they learn about the product or the opportunity. We educate them, and then we help them get their account started. Enrolling, that's the process of answering objections, gathering referrals, helping them pick out their kit. Then we support them on their journey. Make sure they have their 90-day wellness plan, invite them to host a class, teach them about LRP, and continue that journey. Diane and I decided to throw an N in the middle because we feel like networking has to be sprinkled in throughout all these places so that you always have people to talk to. So in our prepare section today, we're going to be talking about launching to Elite. But before we dive into that, I want to bring on our guest speaker. So you can stop that screen share, Aisha. And as you all know, we are in the middle of the 100 Families program. This is a program to help 100 families earn $500 a month with doTERRA, and we're doing it through the Power of 3 bonus. I have Mandy Garber here on the Zoom with us. She's one of the students in the 100 Families program. And last week, she said, I'm celebrating my $50 Power of 3 bonus. So I was so excited for her, but I really wanted to bring her on so she could tell us what was the aha moment, how did she solidify that, any tips that she could give for those of you also working to solidify your first level Power of 3 bonus and beyond. So welcome, Mandy.
Hi, thanks for having me. I missed the first part, so I'll have to get the recording. But I caught the end of the conversation. It sounded so good. So thanks for having me. I've been working with Erin for the last month. Secretly long before because I, watch classes and all that stuff. But it's been really fun to do the mentoring with her. And I got my $50 bonus this month. It's been pretty slow. I have consistently been getting it, but the last few months have been pretty slow. And I think that's kind of the norm maybe for doTERRA a little bit, like it kind of dips right now. But I was kind of stressing out. I kind of got like a slap in the face because I don't work anymore. So I stopped working after COVID, and I really want to stay home with my 2 babies. So I was like, I got to light a fire. So I was so excited that Erin put this together, and I don't want to go back to my job. I'm in healthcare and it's stressful, and I'd rather stay home with my babies. So I almost didn't get my bonus this month, but I was like, I'm going to strategize a little bit, and that's not my top strength. So I actually reached out to somebody on my top line who usually has a really small LRP, and I just asked her, I said, hey, I need something, and I didn't get it on my order this month, which was true. I needed more On Guard, and I said, can I put it on your order, and it will help you get to your free oil of the month? And so she was like, sure, no problem. And so I gave her, a couple of things that I wanted, and the Hygge was one of them. And anyway, she ordered, and she was like, I actually only got you one thing because after talking to you, I realized like that sounded yummy and that sounded good, and I needed that. So she's like, so anyway, she got her free oil, and I got my Power of 3. And I think which was really awesome was the takeaways is just that personal reach out, right? And then more education for people. So I think like showing my excitement about like, I need another Hygge. Can you get me one on your account, please? And I'll just, Venmo you, and it'll help you get your free oil of the month. So I think like that personal reach out, that my excitement, the education for her really helped her actually purchase more and get my Power of 3. So I think those are what I'm really kind of like stewing in my head right now is like, how can I show up for my community? What is my community? How can I show up for my community in a fun way that I would want to show up for, which is making me more excited, which makes my people more excited. And then just providing that education and reaching out, and like what Erin said, like doing those DMOs, right? And so And I've been having to work really hard because I don't have builders yet. So I have me and I have occasional shares that kind of like dip in and out. So it's just kind of me working really hard, and I'm really getting close to my 250 next. And I have big goals to bring more income in so I can stay home with my babes and not go back to work. So thank you, Erin, for helping me get there.
Yay, Mandy. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your journey with us.
Yeah.
And I love how you've reflected back to, it's about that reach out and that community. And most importantly, your excitement.
Yeah.
It's sometimes we're like, okay, I have to put on business hat. I'm in business mode. Okay, this is your business upline.
Right.
But if you just are a personal, like, oh my God, Huga, I need it. Then it gets them like all like infected with your joy. And I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Diane, do you
You're
have any comments on Mandy's journey?
I do actually. Congratulations, first and foremost. And secondly, I just took a note because I love that you decided to call your downline and start that conversation. I was thinking about I'm in a group from the Diamond Dash Retreat. So I have an accountability group that I meet with, and one of the gals in the group who has what's called an elephant leg. So like she has a lot of volume, but it's unbalanced, like for her to hit diamond. And so she decided in the legs where she needed to, and she said she was scared because she hadn't talked to a lot of the people in a long time, but she actually brought in hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of PV this month simply by calling people that she hadn't connected with in that downline personally. And she shared, asking them, did you know about the abode line? Did you know about it? And a lot of people, we make so many assumptions that everybody knows and that you're just choosing not to order. And she's going to hit diamond this month because she got out of her way and got uncomfortable. And she said, once I did it once, then it was just just me connecting with people in my downline. And so a ton of people, she said, ordered the abode collection, and each one of those LRPs was 200. So kind of similar. So Mandy, just keep doing that, keep trusting, keep reaching out, just being you, and just and you're being the leader. You don't have those leaders yet because you are becoming now the leader that you want to attract. So just keep doing that.
Thanks.
Yay. Well, we celebrate you, Mandy, and everyone who's going for their Power of 3 bonus. Good job. Good doing the work. Oh, Aisha has some comments. Go ahead, Aisha.
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate you, Mandy. That's so exciting. And I just wanted to feed off a little bit about what Diane was saying, is the power of connection and not assuming, because all of us are constantly tuned into what's going on with doTERRA, right? We went to convention, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're ordering the products, like it is our world. But that's not the case for everybody. So we think, how can everybody not know? It's, it's everywhere, but everybody has their own life and they're doing their own thing and they're not tuned into doTERRA 24/7. So that is where that power of connection comes in, and making that phone call and saying hello. And so much of us have everything we need to boost our ranks, our Power of 3, etc., in our team already. And I don't know why we do this, but we tend to enroll, get people started, and then we kind of forget about them and figure, well, they know what's going on. Like, what's the problem? They're enrolled, they're in the Facebook group, but that's not the case. And so really taking that time to reach out and connect with our friends, with our family, call and say hello with the people already in our downline is a really important part of this business, to let them know about the ongoing education, about the weekly calls. Do you know that we have this amazing webinar coming up? How are you? There's just so many things to share. And so I just can't stress enough the importance of not taking that for granted and not just assuming that people already know this. Like, we do our best to get the word out and to promote and to advertise. But people are so flooded with information that it's really easy for people not to be paying attention to it. So Mandy, thank you for reminding us of that and for being an example of the power of that. And also Diane for sharing that example with us. Okay, back to you, Erin.
I want to add one more thing, because it just reminded me of something, because it's that you get to do that connection with your existing team, but also with brand new people, right? And I mean, I tell people all the time, I always think back from the beginning of my journey with doTERRA, how Aisha always said, don't assume anything about anybody and what they can afford, what's important to them, even if they're complaining about not having money. Don't be afraid to talk to them, because it may be the thing that changes their life, and you just don't know. Just don't make assumptions. But also, I was thinking, I remember somebody reached out to me about Beautycounter, not for the business, but just for the makeup. I was like, I want to use good makeup. So she reached out to me, and I said, yeah, send me the things. I definitely want to check it out. And like weeks went by, and I was like, she never followed up with me. And she made an assumption that just if I didn't respond, that I wasn't interested. So kind of goes back to, I don't know who, Erin or Aisha said it. It's like, I think Aisha, you said it. It's not on the front of, it's on the front of our minds all the time, because that's what we're so like, our hearts are in this business and supporting people. But it's not on the front of everybody else's mind, right? So she made an assumption that I wasn't interested, that because I didn't respond to it. It's like, I literally just forgot. And I was like, coaching her, I was like, girl, like, if you want this business to grow, you got to follow up with me, you know? So yeah, so that's just another piece of that I think is really important.
That's so true, Diane. Every single product that I've purchased from a network marketer only happened because they did extreme follow-up. Because I'm busy. I'm like probably not gonna click the link and fill the thing out. Like, you're gonna have to hold my hand and make me do it. Such a great reminder. Yeah, Aisha.
I also just want to add the reminder of the amount of touches it actually takes before we take action. And so those multiple touches are really important. And I think, as Diane reminded us, think about how you felt with the person that introduced you something and then dropped the ball, and how that felt for you, and versus the difference as somebody that actually checked in with you and followed up with you and was kindly persistent. And because of that, you took action. I can't tell you, and it breaks my heart, how many people have sampled, dropped the ball, and then get angry when they find out that that person went and bought something on Amazon, or that they enrolled with somebody else. And I've had these conversations, and I say, well, when is the last time you followed up with them? Because they somehow think they have ownership of that, and they acknowledge, oh, well, it was a year ago. You know, I'm like, well, you know, if you haven't followed up in the last several months or in a year, you can't be angry. When somebody wants to buy something, they're going to go out and search for how to buy it. And that's the thing, is if you have somebody in your funnel and you're nurturing them along, and you've taken the time to sample, to check in with them, and you thought, oh, well, they haven't done anything, so I'm going to they don't want it. I can't tell you, then you're basically preparing them to buy with somebody else, because then all of a sudden it might come across their radar again, and they're like, oh yeah, I totally want doTERRA, I'm ready to go. But they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about the person that's helping them in that moment. Or they're on Amazon thinking, oh, I can just get it right here and right now, and they don't understand why they shouldn't be purchasing that way. So I always like to think of my own buying habits and how I like to be treated, and how many times I might be looking at something. How many times have you gone to Amazon or to your favorite clothing store and put a bunch of things in the cart and left them sitting there, and then gone back later and gone back again and gone back another time before you've actually made that purchase? So think about your own buying habits and shopping habits, and then think about how that relates to others. And they're a little different for everybody, But just be mindful that, it's a funnel, and it takes time, and it takes nurturing, and it takes consistency. And what creates success in this business is consistency. Not consistency about getting on Instagram and scrolling through your feed, but consistency of taking the actions of following through and connecting and doing the things, doing the simple steps. This business is really easy. It's not always, it's simple. It's not always easy, right? The steps are simple, and it's just about being consistent with those steps. We get in our own way about how easy or difficult it really is.
Thanks, Aisha. So Diane, I think we should pivot.
Yeah.
because we're just on a good one. So we'll talk about launching to Elite next week.
Great.
I feel like we've given the group a lot of reasons to be good with follow-up, but I think we need to dive into how to do follow-up, because it took me a long time to learn that. I had to take some trainings, learn about all kinds of things. So how would you feel if we riffed on that for the rest of the call?
I'm down.
All right. So staying in this theme of how our business is similar to our health, in my experience, and I'm curious what you think about this, follow-up is a multi-layered approach, right? And, I can have things like, I could have a newsletter and say I'm committed to once a month, I send out a newsletter, and I'm always adding people to my newsletter. I could be showing up on social media so that people know who I am and what I'm about and what I'm here to offer. And those are layers into my follow-up process. But then I also I like to have a hot list. So I usually have about 10 people on my hot list at any time. And a hot list means like what Aisha was talking about. They're prepared and primed and ready. And really, it's just a matter of me reaching out to them and following up enough times with them. And then I have to have events to invite people to. Like, I need excuses to talk to people. Like Mandy's excuse was, I need Hygge. And I think those really personable excuses are great. Like, it could be, I found an article and I thought of you. There's a cool event coming up and I thought of you. It could be, it's your birthday and I thought of you. Like, if we're always saying, hey, do you want to buy that oil? Do you want to buy that oil? Do you want to buy that oil? Then they might tune out, and that could really be bugging them. But if we have a good mix of, hey, I know you're interested in doTERRA at one time, or are you still interested? Sprinkled in with, oh my gosh, it's your birthday. What are you doing? Sprinkled in with, oh, I know you love dogs. Are you going to the pet parade? I think that creates a good balance of how we're reaching out to people. So what do you think about follow-up, Diane?
Yeah, I love these. I was writing notes of some of the lists. I think there's two things that popped into my mind. One is, I love this idea of having this hot list, but you can also go into your back office and download all the people you've personally enrolled, right? So that's really a good list to and who hasn't ordered, who haven't you spoke to, who haven't you connected with, and just genuinely connect with them. And then, yes, of course, having events ongoing, but also doTERRA has so many reasons why you want to connect, whether it's the abode, whether it's this new holiday items, like there's so many things, like there's so many gift ideas that people can use in here. An article, like if somebody's dealing with mental wellness issues or digestive issues, and you run across an article that's unrelated to doTERRA, send it to them. Show up in generosity. Be that person. Now, one thing I learned from a guy when I was at the Diamond Dash retreat, I don't know if I talked about this before, but the one way he does use social media is not to enroll people, but to connect with them. And so, for instance, he takes 15 minutes a day, that's it, 15 minutes a day, and he has his hot list, whether it's new prospects or people on his list, and he sees what are they posting, how can he genuinely comment on them, how can he comment on what they're posting in a genuine way, how can he, if it's their birthday, say happy birthday to them in a post. And that's a good way to use social media, is because it's a good way to connect. And then eventually you want to take them offline when you feel like you've been showing up in generosity and inspiration in that way. Then you can take it offline and send them a Facebook message or however you tend to connect with them. So those are some of the things that I was thinking about with follow-up. I think there's so many different ways, and it's a journey, right? It's like what Aisha's saying. It's a journey. It's not like, oh, they said no, so I guess it's a no, and they're never going to do it. I just enrolled somebody who said no to me, 8 months ago, and now she's like, okay, I'm going to hit silver in December. I'm like, great, you know what I mean? So you just never know. So go back to, I was just talking to Soraya. She's like, I'm going to go back to all the people that said no before, and so, yeah, go back, show them that you're thinking about them, caring about them. Maybe they're ready now. You just never know. And I think asking them for referrals, that's another touch point. And that's a good way to say, oh, you know what, how about me? I'm ready now. So there's so many ways that you can connect with them.
Does anybody have any questions about following up? You can put it in the chat, because we want to make sure we're addressing questions or concerns. And I also think that it might be very helpful if we leave this call with an action. So I'll be thinking about that while you talk, Diane.
So one other thing that just came to my mind was when you're following up, you're also creating trust, right? You're creating that know, like, and trust, but mostly the trust. And if you say if you sample somebody and you follow up with them, you say, I'm going to follow up with you in 2 days to see how that's working for you, and you don't do it, you're breaking trust. So I think it's really, really critical, this follow-up piece. They say fortune is in the follow-up, right? And so just be your word. And when you're being your word in this business, you will be very successful.
Mm-hmm. We have a question over on Facebook from Monica. It's a great question. I'd love to understand how the whole having someone order for you comes into play, like the logistics of it. When that happens, isn't the product shipped to your downline? I've never did this technique because I can't wrap my head around how it works. Can someone explain this? Awesome. I think it's so great what Mandy pointed out, because sometimes I didn't know that this was something I could do, or I never even thought of it, but there's a lot of ways this can come into play. So what Mandy is talking about is she saw in her back office that she was maybe $20, $30 away from her Power of 3 bonus. Meaning, if this one person in her organization would just bump their order up to above the 125 level so that they could get the free product, then Mandy would get her $50 bonus. So what Mandy did is she said, you know what, I need a bottle of Hygge. And I think you needed a bottle of On Guard too. Why don't I just call my customer and express my excitement and say, would you order that bottle of Hygge for me? And I'll Venmo you. I'm assuming your customer lives in the same town as you, so you'll be able to exchange it. What's cool about Mandy's experience is the customer was like, sure, I'll do that. And then once she got into it, she's like, oh, I want all this stuff anyways. So the logistics of this, Monica, are if your customer lives in the same town as you and you have something you want to buy, whether it's for yourself, or maybe you have a customer that doesn't have a wholesale account and sometimes you sell them retail bottles. Like my midwife has a wholesale account, but she doesn't like to use it. So she will often call me and be like, I need a bottle of Copaiba. So I could ask my customer to order that bottle of Copaiba on their account, or I could ask one of my downline members, like say Mandy was on my front line and I'm trying to help her get her 50 so that I can get my 250. I could say, Mandy, my customer needs a bottle of Copaiba. Will you order it where it strategically works for you? And she would be like, yes, no problem. And we can either exchange it in person if you live in the same town. You can drop ship to any address. So I could ask Diane, hey, Diane, will you order On Guard for me on your account or where it works for you? And Diane can put that order into doTERRA and change the shipping address so it comes to my address. She pays for it with her credit card because it's her account, and I Venmo her. Were you saying something, Diane?
Sorry. Yeah, I love that. And I always remind them that there's a benefit for you to do it in that they get LRP points. So there's always a benefit that they get by you placing in that extra order on their account. They,
Yeah.
yeah.
My customer was super happy. She was like, "Oh, thanks for letting me get the points for that order." I'm like, "No problem." So yeah.
Yeah, you have to lead
Let
with
them know
that.
what's
You have
in
to
for
lead-
it for them.
Yeah, what's in it for them? Always ask yourself that. Because if you go to a customer and you're like, I really need you to buy this bottle of lavender because it's the only way I'm going to get my $50 bonus. They'll be like, oh, okay, I guess. But that is way different energy than like, Diane, I really need a bottle of lavender. Would you order it for me? I'll give you the points. You'll get like $4 of free points. And then Diane will probably be like, yeah, of course. Like, you're making this a sweet deal for me. So that presentation is really important. And I think this is part of what I'm trying to teach in the 100 Families program, is that your Power of 3 bonus is about building a community. It's about having a group of people. If you want your $1,500 bonus, it's 12 people. It's having a group of 12 people where you are in relationship with them. Maybe you have a WhatsApp thread going or a Facebook group, or you meet up once a week or once a month, but you're in relationship where it is very easy for you to say, girl, you're missing out on your free oil. You need like $2, bump up your account. Or you can say, oh my gosh, I already placed my order and I ran out of Abode. Does anybody else run out of the Abode surface spray really fast? Right? I'm out of Abode. I already put my order in. Can you order it for me? Like, you want that kind of relationship that's easy and free and fun and flowing, because there's always holes. I'm on to my double 1,500, working on my third 1,500. And every single month I am in the back office and I'm like, oh, there's a place that needs $2. Oh my gosh, there's a place that needs $50. And Dr. Josie has always said this great thing, because sometimes you might complain like, oh, I don't want to have to do the like Power of 3 dance at the end of the month. And she's like, what else would you have to do to make $1,500? What else would you have to do to make an extra $250? Like, isn't it worth making a couple of, I call them Santa Claus phone calls. I'm going to be Santa Claus, right? Hi, I was wondering if you would order a bottle of lavender for me. It'll give you some free points, or it'll give you your 125 free oil. I'm Santa Claus. I'm never going to them with like, this is going to give me my second $1,500 bonus. Can you place this order for me? I'm always like, what's in it for you? So what if I have to spend an hour making Santa Claus phone calls at the end of the month, but it's going to earn me $1,500 or $250 or whatever you're working out there? It's worth it. And you just have to be a cool person, like give more than you're trying to get.
Yeah.
Friendly, be fun, have community.
And that, that's the follow-up creates that nurturing of the relationship. So when those things do come up, it's a little easier. And I'll just say one more thing that I think is also an important way to connect with people who have been inactive or haven't been ordering, is invite them to say, hey, I noticed you haven't ordered in a while. Wondering, are you using your oils? Do you need a wellness consultation? I'm opening up my schedule to offer wellness consultations for people who may be stuck and not know how to use their oils. Do you have a favorite oil? Is there something, so there's so many different ways that you can, and people feel cared about, you don't, people want to know you're thinking about them.
And I would say, I know we're at the end of time, and what I am about to say is a little heavy. I apologize, but it's important. Not only are we going on 2 years in a pandemic, but we're headed into the holidays. So this is high time for people to fall into depression and sadness. And I don't know about you, but when I get depressed, I stop using my oils.
Mm-hmm.
So a dip in oil use this time of year could actually be a sign that someone really needs a friend right now. So it's a wonderful time. Let's have that be our call to action after this call. This is a wonderful time to reach out to all your customers and just go, hey, how's it going? what's going on in your life. And you might find out a lot more than just the fact that they have stopped using their oils. You might find out that they needed that phone call more than you could have ever imagined. So let's just have that intention as we go into the holiday season, and we're headed into our 2-year mark with the pandemic. Like, let's go love on our people, check in on them, see how they're doing, make sure they have some adaptive in their life, and invite them to next week's call, because we're going to give them some great education about all of that.
I think that's
So yes,
a great
thank
call
you
to
all.
action.
Great call to action. Let's do it. Let's go take care of people and help them. That's what we're all about. Thank you, Mandy, for sharing and starting this excellent conversation. Aisha and Diane for adding into all of it. And of course, Ariana and Dr. Jenny for the great presentation. And we will see you all next week.
Yeah, thank you, Erin.